The Hockey Radar.
What is up, hockey fans? My name is Kenny, and welcome to my brand new channel, The Hockey Radar, where we keep track of drafts, prospects, and other hockey news, live on Spotify and YouTube at The Hockey Radar, and on Instagram at The Hockey Radar channel. In today's video, I wanted to give some of my thoughts on the 2025 NHL Entry Draft. A few weeks have passed since the draft, and fans have had time to digest their team's picks, as well as see a glimpse of some of their new players at development camps. And today, I just wanted to pick 3 teams who I think came out on top in the first round, as well as 3 of the more surprising and interesting picks. Kicking things off, one of my winners of the first round of the draft, we're going to go with San Jose. The Sharks had an amazing opportunity to grab a skilled center who can slot in behind Macklin Celebrini and bring a huge amount of talent to their roster. Although there was a little bit of debate on whether Anton Frundell could sneak into that top 2 pick, the Sharks opted to go with the more offensively minded Michael Misa after his OHL MVP winning season with the Saginaw Spirit, where he put up 134 points. Misa brings a ton of skill to the Sharks roster. He is an elite skater with the puck and an elite playmaker who can also put the puck in the net, scoring 62 goals in 65 games this past season in the OHL. The Sharks now have a deadly 1-2 punch of Macklin Celebrini and Michael Misa down the middle, which is a recipe for success. I mean, just look at what the Florida Panthers did this past season with Alexander Barkov, Sam Bennett, and even Anton Lundell. Not only did the Sharks add a top player in Michael Misa, but near the end of the first round, with pick number 30, they took the towering 6'5", number 1 ranked goalie Joshua Ravensbergen. Some fans questioned this decision because they already had a young goalie in Yaroslav Askarov, but I really like this pick. If both of these young goalies in the Sharks organization can develop fully, they could run an elite 1A, 1B tandem, much like the Boston Bruins did in their historic season with Ullmark and Swayman. Worst case scenario, if this creates a logjam for the San Jose Sharks, they could move whichever goalie they don't see a long-term future with and recoup some assets. Looking just outside the first round, but worth mentioning, with the 33rd pick, the San Jose Sharks took the towering 6'6", 220-pound defenseman Simon Wang, who could become a very big part of their future D-core that already has the likes of Sam Dickinson from last year's draft. All in all, I really like what the Sharks did in this first round. They added a top talent to a core that already has the likes of Will Smith, William Eklund, and Macklin Celebrini. They added a potential starting goaltender in Joshua Ravensbergen and a huge towering defender in Simon Wang, who has potential to become a top 6, top 4 D-man. Going with my second winners of the first round of the draft, in no particular order by the way, we're going to go with the Philadelphia Flyers. The Flyers came out of the first round addressing 2 big concerns with their roster. They added a center in Jack Nesbitt, as well as size in both Nesbitt and Porter Martone. I think there were some rumors about the Islanders packaging the 16 and 17 picks to try to move up and draft James Higgins, but as soon as Martone became available to the Flyers at 6, I think it was a no-brainer for them to keep the pick and draft the 6'3" sniper and power forward from the Brampton Steelheads. Martone finished his OHL season with 37 goals and 98 points, serving as the captain for the Brampton Steelheads at just 18 years old. Putting him in a top 6 that has the likes of Matvei Michkov is just going to be a nightmare for defenders in the future. With the Flyers' remaining 2 picks in the first round, they packaged them and moved up to the number 12 pick where they took center Jack Nesbitt. Fresh off 64 points in 65 games this last season with the Windsor Spitfires, the 6'5" Jack Nesbitt projects to be a second-line center, which is the exact position that Philadelphia needed to fill. Although I think it was a little bit early to go for Jack Nesbitt at 12, a guy who was ranked to go maybe around the 18 and 20 range, I think because the Flyers already have elite talents like Matvei Michkov, like Porter Martone, they are able to leave a little bit of talent on the table and address a direct positional need at center. In my opinion, for teams who already have the next face of their franchise, like Philadelphia does with Michkov, they can afford to take a little more risk with their picks and take guys a little bit earlier than projected. At the end of the day, a huge first round for the Philadelphia Flyers, who took 2 players with an average height of 6'4". Both Porter Martone and Jack Nesbitt project to be key contributors to the future success of the Philadelphia Flyers. And last but certainly not least, how can you talk about the winners of the first round and not mention the New York Islanders? Matthew Darche did a phenomenal job in his first draft as the new Islanders GM. Obviously, starting off the draft by taking Matthew Schaefer at number 1, you are bound to be a winner of the first round. Standing at 6'2" and still only 17 years old, Matthew Schaefer needed only 17 games this year to prove that he was worthy of being the number 1 pick. This 2-way puck-moving defenseman will be the cornerstone of the franchise for the next decade and a half. Darche, coming from Tampa, knows a thing or two about winning, and he knows that it takes a top D-man to win in this league, and now he has his very own Victor Hedman in Matthew Schaefer. This pick alone would have put the Islanders on my winners list. However, earlier, they moved out Noah Dobson for the 16 and 17 pick in this draft where they took Eklund and Kayshawn Aitchison. A lot of people projected Eklund to go in the top 10. However, he fell in this draft due to his size, and the Islanders were happy to take him with their 16th overall pick. A speedy two-way winger with high skill, Eklund adds a ton of talent to a prospect pool that already has the likes of Cal Ritchie and Cole Yzerman. Add to that a hard-hitting defenseman in Keishon Aitchison, who can also put the puck in the net, scoring 26 goals in 64 games played this past year with the Barrie Colts. In just one round, the Islanders instantly created half of their future top 4 defense with Matthew Schaefer and Keishon Aitchison. The Islanders have all the potential in the world in the next few years to have a quick retool and add these top 3 talents to a roster that already has Barzal, Pulock, Horvat, and Sorokin all in their primes. Moving on to the 3 more surprising picks in my opinion, with honorable mention to Brady Martin at 5 and Ben Kindle at 11. But I'm going to go with one in the later half of the first round, and I'm going to go with Mason West with the Chicago Blackhawks. 6'6", 220-pound centerman Mason West is 100% a first-round talent. However, although he is committed to playing hockey, he has decided that he's going to go back and play his senior year of football with his high school team. This brings up huge concerns. As a football quarterback, there's always risk of getting injured and having it affect his hockey season and his development. But also, if he has a great year of football, he could be targeted by some D1 colleges who have great programs and a lot of money who could try to pry him away from hockey. This caused some people to see him more as a second-round pick because there was that uncertainty and because there was that risk. But the Chicago Blackhawks used their 29th overall pick to take Mason West in the first round. Personally, I love this pick for the Blackhawks. 6'6" centermen do not grow on trees, and with him being available at 29, I think Chicago got great value for their pick. Like I said with Philadelphia and Michkov, because the Blackhawks have a future face of their franchise in Bedard, because they've hit on so many first-rounders in the past, I think they can go a little more risky with this pick, and I think they can take a chance on a guy like Mason West. If all goes well in his development, he could be a great third-line centerman to slot in behind Connor Bedard and now Anton Frundell. And I think if and when Chicago gets back to the glory days, that center depth is going to be a huge reason why. With my second more interesting pick of the first round, I'm going to go with the 20th overall Columbus Blue Jackets pick, Pyotr Andrianov, the goaltender out of the MHL, which is the KHL's junior league. The talent is definitely there with Andrianov, and with Columbus's desperate need for goaltending, it's not surprising that they took him. However, my issue with the pick is just that they took him so early in the draft. When you look at his projections, he was going around the 55 to 70 range, and Columbus had a pick at 76, so I don't understand why they couldn't have traded up, maybe got him at 50, maybe even 45 if they had to. I just don't think they got the value of a 20th overall pick with him. And this isn't the first time they've done this. They also went out and got Yegor Chinnikov in the first round a couple of years ago, who was nowhere near where they projected him to go. Now that news is coming out that he signed a 5-year deal in the KHL, the pick is looking worse and worse. To be fair, it does take around 5 years for goalies to fully develop. However, you would like after maybe 2 or 3 years for them to at least come into your organization and play in the AHL. At least that way you have control of their development. The only way now to get him to their organization before the 5 years is up is to pay a buyout fee, which is going to come out of Columbus's pocket, which is just not ideal. The last interesting pick for me, more of a positive side, we're going to go with Roger McQueen at number 10 to the Anaheim Ducks. Because of what happened to Caden Lindstrom last year, with him still going at 4 and then not playing for the majority of the season this last year and really hurting his development, a lot of teams were unsure on whether they would take a chance with McQueen, who suffered a similar injury. So no matter where McQueen was going to go or when in the draft he was going to go, it was going to surprise me regardless, just because there was just so much uncertainty surrounding his name going into the draft. But personally, I really like the player. He is a towering centerman who can add a ton of talent to your roster. And just look at the Anaheim Ducks in a few years. You've got a huge center in Leo Carlson. You've got a huge center in Roger McQueen. You add a bunch of skill around that in Seneca, McTavish, Cutter Gauthier. The Ducks are going to be a wagon going forward. And I'm sure he was really nervous going into draft day. Just imagine the possibility of team after team passing up on you, pick after pick. That could really affect your confidence and really affect your development going forward. But no, he stays in the top 10, and while I don't blame other teams for passing up on him, I do still think he's going to be a steal for the Anaheim Ducks. And the other interesting part of this pick is just look how his day turned out. What could have been a huge disappointment ended up being an amazing day. Immediately he gets flown out to Disneyland, taking pictures with Mickey Mouse. Of course, he took a picture with Lightning McQueen. The Ducks treated him so nicely on draft day, and rightfully so. This kid is going to be a star. Yeah, guys, that wraps up my top 3 winners list for this year's draft, as well as the top 3 more interesting picks in my opinion. Comment down below what you guys think. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Go follow my Spotify. Go follow my Instagram. I'm going to be posting so much more content this off season, so make sure to keep an eye out, and I'll see you guys in the next video.